What is up everyone, this is Korean Kiwi Guy here today, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can make the perfect kimchi stew every time. Okay, before we go anywhere, rule number 1. You need well-fermented kimchi. If you use kimchi that is not fermented at all, or not fermented enough, no matter what you do, it just won't taste good. It's always better to use overly fermented kimchi than not enough. So if your kimchi's been in the fridge for a long time, or you just accidentally over-fermented your kimchi and the taste is too strong, perfect, that's what you want. And if you're worried about your kimchi stew being too strong, don't worry. When kimchi is cooked, especially with meat, particularly with fatty pork, it will round out the taste of fermentation and turns it into great flavor. Anyways, let's start cooking. For about 4 servings of kimchi stew, I'm going to use 500 grams of pork belly and cut them into big pieces. It takes longer to cook, but trust me, it tastes a lot better when it's done. The secret to making great tasting kimchi stew is that you use enough meat. I usually use equal amount of meat to kimchi, but it's completely up to you if you want to use less. You can use other cuts of pork or even beef, but I highly recommend that you use pork. I'll go for pork belly or pork scotch fillet, which has enough fat. Cut some spring onions and chop about 3 cloves of garlic. Tofu is not essential, but good to have. Once you're done with the ingredients, add some cooking oil just to get it going, and fry the meat with some salt and pepper. The key here is to fry your meat until they look nice and brown, like almost to a point that looks overcooked. It takes some time, but it's worth it. This will help the soup to be more savory. When you get your meat nice and brown looking like this, add 500 grams of kimchi or more. Add about 3 to 4 tablespoons of kimchi juice, 1 tablespoon of Korean chili powder, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, and optionally half a teaspoon of Korean beef stock powder. Some people add a little bit of sugar as well, but I just find it unnecessary since factory kimchis are relatively sweet compared to homemade ones. But you can always add it later to taste. It is best to use Korean soy sauce and Korean chili powder, but if you don't have them, use Japanese soy sauce instead, and just use other chili powder to taste. Once you have kimchi and seasoning in the pot, stir fry for about 10 minutes. Then add enough water to cover all ingredients. It doesn't really matter how much water you put at this point, as long as it's enough to cover. Add tofu, spring onion, and garlic as well. Boil on low to medium heat for about 30 minutes. After cooking for about 30 minutes, add some water, depending on how much soup you prefer. Then, salt to taste. It is critical that you salt to taste at the end, just before serving, not during cooking. This way, you just simply cannot fail. One recommendation I would make is that make sure you allow enough cooking time. I said cook for 30 minutes earlier, but I would actually go for 1 hour or even longer if I have time. In this way, you get all the flavors blend with the soup and it gets soaked back to the meat and kimchi. Think of it as if you're making braised pork with kimchi. Allow enough cooking time to get melt in your mouth meat and kimchi texture. And remember, there's no perfect recipe for everyone. So you can always add water, boil down water, or add salt to control the amount of soup and saltiness to your preference. If you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing.